Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, Dean Akers, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thinking in the realm of sales and leadership. Today's show, I think you're going to enjoy. It hits home for me, and it's true with a lot of companies I've worked with over the years, or more importantly, leaders I've worked with over the years. And it's kind of comical because it happened to me personally, and then I'm going to share two stories today that are real stories where engaging and listening to your people did, in fact, make a big difference, and the fact that it had not been engaged made a big difference. So today we're going to talk about a big leadership issue, which is engaging your people, then listening to them. It's one thing to engage them, and then it's the second thing to listen to them. A lot of leaders will say they really engage their people, and when I really deep dive it, I find out, A, they don't. They're just more engaging them so they can hear themselves talk, and then they don't listen to their people. They interrupt their people. They debate why their people's thoughts are wrong, and they're just not listening. When you're listening, you're shutting up. If you listen to previous shows, listening means shutting up. So when you engage and ask, you learn to ask great questions. You learn to shut up and listen, not think about what you're going to say. So engaging is a huge deal. And it's easy to blame performance of your company and your people on things outside or them or whatever. And in most cases, when I really deep dive companies I've helped in my own case, my own companies, when I look in the mirror, I understand that instead of blaming others, I need to look in the mirror and take a deep, hard look. Also, people are way smarter than you think, and I don't care what level they're at. They're way smarter than you think and more ingenious and intuitive, and they have a lot of ingenuity. So make sure you're listening, and they can do more than you can imagine, especially when you care about them, because they want to engage. They love winning. They love being part of a successful team. And if they're getting that through your organization, it'll be very powerful for you and / them. So years ago, I was in the tire business, and I had a big company I was working with, and we were working on reducing their tire costs. And one of the number one things that drove commercial tire costs was the lack of air pressure programs. Quote, get the air pressure right. And companies were always barking about it. Owners were saying, my people don't care, blah, 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 blah. So I started doing driver meetings with different companies. And so this particular big concrete company, the head guy said, will you come do it? And I did. And he wanted to kind of be there and show that he could, be there with them. And so we did this big meeting on air pressure and the cost of air pressure and the amount of trucks. And if the air pressure's wrong, this is how many hundreds of thousands of dollars it impacted the company and blah, blah, blah. We were going through the whole thing. The owner's standing there really with a lot of pride next to me, and he has locations everywhere. And finally, one of the drivers who'd been with him for a long time raised his hand, and he was so nervous it looked like he was waving at me. And he looked at me and he goes, Dean, we understand air pressure. We know how bad air pressure impacts tires. No air pressure, our trucks don't roll. Poor air pressure, it wears out. We see the tires, blah, blah, blah. And so, I kind of looked at him. I go, wow, we're having this big meeting. Air pressure's been an issue. He's acknowledging it. He's been around. He's acknowledging on behalf of everybody. You could see their heads shaking. Yeah, we get it. We don't have a problem with it. And so it was really funny when he says, but we got a real problem. We've said something about it, and we just have a problem. And I go, well, what's your problem? He says, well, if you expect for us to manage air pressure, we mentioned it before, we don't have any air pressure chucks to the air compressor to put air in our tires. I go, no, you're kidding me. Well, then I looked at the director of maintenance and asked him. I said, "Can you show me the air chuck to put the air in the tires?" And he goes, "We haven't ever run one out to where the trucks are." So here we are, bitching at our crews while we're in executive office about cost and about our crews don't care. And the reality is, not only did they care, they knew the reason why it wasn't happening and had said something. And guess what we didn't do? We did not listen to our people. Now, I got to tell you, after that meeting, all the compressors got air chucks. There were extra air chucks. We actually installed air compressors by the trucks. I mean, it was a huge, huge expense to this company, but nobody was engaging and or listening in the management of this company. That changed that day. And not listening in this case was costing this company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars that, in fact, their team knew about. So listening and engaging would have been big. So I've always believed in this engagement and listening. I really have. And I think I'm probably okay at it. Maybe not the best, but I'm certainly aware of it. So years ago when I had my construction company, once or twice a month I'd go work as a crew for a whole day, on a crew for a whole day, which means I showed up when the crew started early in the morning, 6:30 or 7, and I stayed the whole day as a member of the crew. I didn't work for an hour and kiss babies and leave. I worked as a laborer, and I would do whatever they needed me to do. Well, it would usually take an hour, 2 hours before I sort of blended in, because the people there knew I was the owner of the company. And it would take a couple hours of trust and confidence for me to blend in. Now, these were my team members. We had big meetings. They knew me. They knew I liked to listen. They knew we would do stuff. But I got to tell you this funny story, because this was so impactful. And this shows about how engaging and listening can be so powerful. So it was a hot summer day. We were laying sanitary sewer. It was a deep cut, real deep. We were in trench boxes. I was down there working with the crews. Big old backhoe digging, and we're, front end loader, all this equipment. Our crews are laying the sanitary sewer line. And I asked our guys it was after lunch and we were down there working away. And I go, is there anything that you guys think that might make your job more productive and easier and us more successful? And almost as a team, it didn't even blink that they mentioned one thing that would make a big difference. Now, remember, your people are smart. Don't think they're not. These people, in my case, that were working on this pipe crew, it wasn't like they were high school laborers trying to get a transition job. They had been working on pipe crews, some of them as many as 30 years, in a ditch. They were proud of what they do. It's what they did. It was their role in business, or their role for making money. So when I asked them this, they looked at me and they mentioned we should get a hydraulic pipe puller. It would pull the pipe together. And I said, well, how much production would that thing bring? And they go, 10 to 20%. I go, really? I said, how much are they? And they go, man, they are expensive. I go, well, how much is expensive? Now, keep in mind, this is something when you learn to engage your people and listen, you have to learn how to listen in perspective too. So if I had just gone, and I've taught this in seminars where you don't just listen to what I call the vague thing, like it's expensive or it's a whole lot of. You got to get that quantified number, because one person's expensive is somebody else's not so expensive. And I give you an example. So now we're talking, and one of the guys go, I've heard those things are like $1,500. Now, this is a pipe guy, hourly pipe guys down there, and $1,500 is a lot of money to them. And it is a lot of money. However, for 10 or 20% production, think about this. I looked at our guys and I said, you see that backhoe up there on the top of the hill that was digging in front of us? Or they knew the backhoe. I go, that's $1 million backhoe. That Caterpillar 966 loader that's putting dirt in behind us as we cinch the pipe, that's a $250,000 front end loader. The D3 that was pushing the dirt into the ditch and pushing in behind our trench box, that was probably $100,000. The roller, all in, we were $1.5 million, $2 million. Who knows? We had 2 foremen on the top of the hill that were both up there, and I don't know what they made, probably 60 each, and trucks and all that. And so here we were, A, not engaging, B, not listening. These people knew and had known that this thing could increase production by 10 to 20%, which is a huge number given what we were doing in the underground business. So I waved the backhoe, did the circle motion, and the backhoe bucket came down. I got the bucket, went up the top of the hill, got out of the bucket, looked at my 2 foremen and said, have you guys ever heard of a hydraulic pipe puller? They go, yeah. I said, would it help our production? They both kind of stared out in the air a little bit and go, yeah, probably would. I said, somebody better get in a pickup truck right now and go to Granger or wherever one is and get one like now. So we did that. It helped our production. It engaged our people, and it made a big difference. So today, 2 stories. One, the air pressure story. That's a true story. It was impacting a company. The leadership was quick to blame the trench, and the trench was never listened to or talked to. And in fact, they didn't even have a way to put air in their tires or check their tires. And then secondary was my pipe crew that could increase production 10 to 20% and lay in sanitary sewer for a very inexpensive expenditure, but in their mind, very expensive because the people don't engage and listen and really dissect. So 2 really material stories today that happened to me. So today's message is engage your people, then listen to them genuinely. I promise you, they know the answers. Trust them and show them you value their insight. So, thanks for tuning in each week, and remember to share if this helps you. My book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, is available on Amazon. If you have any questions, just email me at help@adjunctco.com, and I'll be glad to help. So go out there this week. Engage your people and do some serious listening. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanacres.com. Also, visit us at www.deanacres.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.